You are watching the YouTube channel of Kentron.
Hello, Green Party Bookworms. Bookworms of the Green Party. I'm reviewing today The Art of War by Sun Tzu. One of my top 5 favorite books. I was last week attending a gubernatorial campaign organizer of Akron, Ohio City Councilwoman Tara Samples running for Lieutenant Governor, and alongside Dennis Kucinich. And I was at the organizer, and I was, talking to Tara, and talking to Nina Turner, and talking to Dennis Kucinich, and everybody about the Green Party, and talking to Elizabeth Kucinich. She was telling me about her volunteer work for the Green Party many moons ago, and through the discussion, talking about when it comes to party affiliations in government and everything, the important part is the issues and the policies, and that's where we all really have common ground, all affiliations aside. And I just think that it's really great that I think that it's really great, and I know many other Greens in the state of Ohio also, I'm sure, are enjoying that there's a Democratic platform that is directly aligned with the Green Party platform. And to see these candidates be the Democratic candidates in the election in November, I think speaks a great message of those policies and issues where we have a majority of the platform in the election period. Republicans, Democrats, and Greens. We have one conservative platform, and then we have two pretty much directly aligned platforms that speak for $15 minimum wage. Healthcare is a right, right to public education, college education. So, and recreational cannabis for beneficial tax monies that can be put towards repairing our roads, all kinds of things, repairing our schools, hiring new teachers, hiring new social workers, everything, all the good things. So I think it's great that message is possibly spoken twice over for a majority of platform interpretation with the people of Ohio who are seeing these options amplified. So I think that it's really cool that they're running, and I thought that it was really cool talking about just issue-based politics with Elizabeth Kucinich. And we were talking about books somewhere in the process, and she mentioned The Art of War to me. And this is my favorite book, top 5 favorite books. I've read this book more than any other book that I've ever read. And in fact, this is the library copy where, I was the volunteer organizer at the Highland Library when I picked up this book too for the Samples and Kucinich campaign, speaking about the issues, speaking about the Green Party, and speaking about really making the difference for the great state of Ohio. And so I got the library's copy of the book because sometimes my books just they make their way into friends of mine's hands, and they're their books now. Like my copy of 1984, my friend Brandon has. My copy of Thoth the Lantean Hobson has, and my copy of The Art of War, my friend Josh down the street on Crosby, he has that, and that's my homie. We'd be practicing kung fu in the yard over there, and that The Art of War, my copy of The Art of War, underlines everything of the many times that I read it before. And I had never read it as a speed reader. I started speed reading in 2008. And I was in advanced reading classes as a wee lad, so it would take me a little bit of time to read the book previously, enough to do the underlines. And now as a speed reader, it was really interesting to breeze through it and really gather all that information in one read. And I'm just going to kind of roundabout, I'm going to try to make my review of this book over the next 5 minutes. Relative to the time that this book was written in, like 2,000 years ago or something, it's the original war doctrine, and is arguable if Sun Tzu had existed. Sun Tzu Wu has been an actual person before. If this is a collection of writings authored by mystery men, who knows? Maybe, maybe the Rosicrucian origins of many moons ago, but Sun Tzu is supposedly a real dude. So in the Art of War, there's only about 100 pages of this edition. This one has brackets. I liked reading through it. It's kind of, I had to take my time actually reading through it to absorb the information because it's written so well and like fine in the context or in the text. But it's like they got brackets in here that kind of break down a few of the things, which I really enjoyed. To just kind of like, check out the Dover Publications brackets with, explanation. Some of the parts that might have been difficult to read through. So that was cool for this edition of the book, the Dover Publications edition of the book. And all right, so this is what I want to do. I want to spell out my interpretation of the Art of War, which has, of course, mention of the Great Wall of China and their discussion about it and how walls are such a big, powerful thing. In ancient times, before we had electricity, it was such a major, massive move for great rulers to establish these monoliths as their impact on history in the future and the stories to be told of the days of old. And I'm gonna try to like really relate that to what's happening in America right now, since we're talking about the Green Party, and the Green Party is, quietly the most powerful party, and that's pretty much simply explained by the fact that our, economic evaluation, the Republicans right now want to siphon $2 trillion out of the taxpayers' benefits, and people don't really I don't think connect the dots. The Green Party is also talking about automation and even radical ideas like a maximum wage, and those are the biggest impacts on the economy possible. And then as far as policies go, it's really an oversight platform that we have in the Green Party. So when it comes to leaders making huge impacts on the future, there's not a greater impact that could be made by a party with policies that would absolutely alter economic values and what's really possible with our abilities to construct impactful monoliths. So 2000 BC, there was no electricity. So they talk about the Great Wall and it being a major effect as far as its use for defenses. And one of the teachings that Sun Tzu has in here is to never besiege a walled city. Sun Tzu advises against it. He says, do not besiege walled cities. For whatever reason, we have a president right now in the United States of America who seeks to wall our country. And when you look at it from what Sun Tzu is teaching, it really becomes a curious pursuit, the wall. It seemed like a campaign promise to sell people at first, and then this whole building the wall with solar panels, like our president had said, building a wall across the Mexican border with solar panels is the best interest. Odd to me. It seems like we're missing some information there. And so here I am reading The Art of War, where it's talking about walled cities, and it's talking about the Great Wall of China. And here we have a president who, for better or worse, is on a course of making great impacts through history. Our president is obviously interested in setting monumental historical facts and possibilities for him to stage, for example, the first impeachment. If that happens, that's the first president to be impeached. That's going to speak forever through history. And then you know, for better or worse, we have the first president who lays with porn stars and is pioneering a space force. And as upsetting as it is, a lot of these things, who knows? President right now may be using some sort of a stepping stone to see to life the ultimate ambitions of maybe unseating Rupert Murdoch as the overlord of media and taking control of his seat of power, which may be the top of the hierarchy. And by any means or mode or method, if everything is what it is, the wall is still a curious construction. So it's to keep out people who are capable of building tunnels and ladders. So what is the significance of the wall? What answers could possibly be derived that would spell out why a wall would be necessary along the southern border of the United States? And so take it back to a time when strategies of war like this are really effective when it comes, because we're talking about terrain, we're talking about forces, we're talking about tactics, we're talking about uh, walls. We're talking about the Great Wall of China, and we're talking about the Wall of America, and about how the Great Wall of China was sparked by a ruler who started building this wall, and we have a ruler who is building a wall in America now. So the applicability of it, what can that be? And I think to the electromagnetic pulse weapons in the days of old when war was carried out, hand-to-hand combat, when hundreds of thousands of people would gather together and have a fight to the mass death. Uh, there was if you had a wall, then that's in effect. Right now, it doesn't seem like it's necessary or effective for immigration in ICE. Uh, it seems like if there were to be an electromagnetic pulse weapon, either from the sun, which is an inevitable massive solar flare that's going to be an electromagnetic pulse that could take us back into the Stone Age, they say. It will fry our power grids pretty much. We won't be able to restore power for maybe a year. Some think maybe 3 years. But in the event of an electromagnetic pulse weapon, which our government doesn't really like to speak with us honestly about and preparedly about, um, then a wall along the southern border almost starts to become a question of, okay, you know, another thing they're talking about is resources and everything and energy, and never expanding the energy of your military and your soldiers and your ranks. And in the southern area of the country, agriculture might be slim there. So if we're not going to have power for like a year to 3 years, then you know we could wonder, will there be a great migration of people? And you can wonder the same thing about the southern border too, up in Canada. Would there be necessary then a wall to be along that border if we wanted to keep America uh, a country again? Um, because then, who knows? They're probably going to be okay up there in their northern climates and everything. They're going to be able to make their own food. But down south, that might be an issue. Water might be an issue, and there might be like a real rush coming up from down south to like the a little further away from the equator, where resources will be abundant and available. And if our government was aware of the threat of the EMP, that they might want to just kind of like slide a wall along the border there and like really give our soldiers a fighting chance to maintain resources without either defending them from a rush or from sharing them, possibly. I don't know. It's just an idea that I have, and I'm thinking of the art of war, and I'm thinking of Sun Tzu and his strategies and everything that he talks about in his teachings, trying to make sense of how it is that we have a ruler as our president who is continuously pursuing construction of a wall along the southern border. So, that's my, and that's my analysis. That's my critical analysis of what's going on with the wall, and from a perspective of fresh reading of Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And that again, it's one of my top 5 favorite books. I really believe that in everyday life, philosophies that I've read and that others have read, obviously, like Tupac put me on to The Art of War. I read this book maybe in 2004 after Tupac put me on to The Art of War. And I read it times over as, a reader, and as a speed reader, this is my first read through of it. And having read it before as many times as I had back up front, the philosophies can be applied in everyday life. And if you read through the book and you absorb the knowledge and the information and apply it to your livelihood, I believe that you will see greater success and display leadership more equally among your people, whoever that is. It's good. It's good in that sense. And these philosophies of war are lessons learned and passed on from human to human as we move on into the ultimate vision of the Green Party and purpose to achieve a state of world peace, at least for a time being, so that we can recalibrate our future, the direction that we are heading, and how we will proceed to be the greatest human beings we can be again. Thanks for watching my review, and again, if you got any good books to read, slide me a comment. You want to say hello, Sadness? Hey, come here. This is sad. This is my baby girl. She just had surgery. She's being shy right now. She's a little baby. Oh, so bright, so bright, such a bright baby. She really relishes accentuating her points with dramatic gestures. Sadness does. Okay, thanks for watching. Check out The Art of War. It's only 100 pages. It's a great read, and the philosophies can totally be applicable to life. And this is a suggestion from coming from myself, and recommended vicariously by Elizabeth Kucinich. Along the Dennis Kucinich and Tara Samples for governor of Ohio on the Democratic primary. Greens can vote for them and still vote Constance in the November election, which is the ultimate, decider of whether the Green Party maintains its registry or not. So, encouraging all Greens. It's the same platform. If we have this platform with Dennis Kucinich and Tara Samples on the Democratic election candidates ballot, then that's 2 of the same platforms, which speaks a majority to the public, which is really what we're interested in. We want these platforms. We want these policies enacted, and this is our step there.